I get asked all the time, what is applicant tracking system all about? ATS. So let's dive in. ATS is simply a digital database. That's it. It's a filing cabinet up in the clouds. When you apply as an applicant, you're probably going to apply online, as most companies will want you to do, and your information will go into an ATS. There's not one giant ATS. There are lots of different brands. You've probably heard of Workday. That's probably the best known one, but there are lots of different brands, so they're not all the same. So essentially, what happens is when you apply, your resume goes into the database and attaches to your name. They create a file for you if you upload it as a Word or a PDF or whatever. A recruiter or HR person or even a hiring manager can go into the ATS, look at your resume, and review it. The other thing that happens is it's a database. So your resume gets converted into a text file and pushed into the parameters of what the database has experience, education, those kinds of things. Now, where the issue could happen is let's say that the recruiters get 50 to 100 applicants. They're probably just going to look at those. They can do it in 3 to 5 seconds flat. They'll figure out if you're a yes, a no, or a maybe. Now, obviously, if you're in the yes or no pile, they'll spend a little bit more time with your application. But that initial review, and we can talk about that separately, but that initial review is about 3 to 5 seconds. The issue happens when they need to lean a little bit more heavily on ATS because they've gotten hundreds or thousands of applicants. And that doesn't mean that ATS is cutting you out. It just means that someone is going to type in some qualifications, which we think of as keywords. And if your resume has those keywords, they're likely to be found. If it doesn't have those keywords, it's not likely to be found. And also, if it didn't parse correctly, it's obviously not going to be found well. So things that an ATS usually cannot parse well are headers, footers, tables, charts, graphs, images, and columns can goof them up depending on how you formatted those columns. If you don't have any of those things and it parses correctly and they can type in the words, then the likelihood is that your resume is going to be seen. Now, I've heard some people say, well, they're scoring my resume. No, they're not scoring your resume. ATS doesn't do that. You don't get a resume score. So if you are going to some site or using AI and saying, score my resume based on this application, it's not happening. The other thing that people think is that AI is involved in ATS. It could be. There are some companies who are using AI as part of a first screening, but generally speaking, ATS doesn't cut you out. What it does do is that it parses, right? And so if you have a keyword that's not on there, or if you didn't ask the question or answer a question correctly in your application, there could be a problem. So we call these questions knockout questions. I don't know what the knockout question could be. It could be something like, what is your salary range? Do you have experience in this? If you answer in a way that's against what has been programmed into ATS, that might potentially knock you out, hence knockout question. That's it. That's an ATS system. Applicant tracking system, that's what it does. It's not out to get you. If you have questions, I'm here. Follow me, check out. Be happy to review your resume. I have a simple trick to see how it parses in and if it parses correctly. So feel free to send it to me at the website below. Have a great day.